Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Meredith, and I'm going to be presenting our Fall 2020 webinar series tonight. I really do appreciate you coming. For those students who are watching this after the fact on our lovely YouTube playlist, thank you for taking the time to sort of join us. The slide deck is available tonight on our YU Career Center Canvas page. So please, if you'd like access to the slides or there's any information that you would like to learn from our Canvas page, I encourage you all to sort of go there and be a part of that as well. For everyone here tonight, I'm available in the chat. I would ask if you have a question or there is a sort of a comment, please put it in type it out in the chat so we can go from there. I'm going to share my screen now so we can get started. I really, really do appreciate everyone having the opportunity to join us tonight. So I'm just going to share my screen. So this is part of our Fall Professional Series, and as part of our Fall Professional Series, we are working on a webinar tonight called Building a Job Search for Your Personality. I am Joshua Meredith from the Career Center. I just wanted to start with a little bit about our Career Center. As I am the Director of Career Advising and Technology here, our Career Center is here to support you as leaders of tomorrow. Our students always will be able to think strategically about designing their careers while in college, after graduation, and for life. So this is sort of an important piece of what we do here at the Career Center, so I just wanted to mention that. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Joshua. I am the Director of Career Advising and Technology here at the Career Center. I also teach ethics for a part of my role here at Yeshiva. I teach in the undergraduate SciSims School of Business programs. I also teach at Georgetown University and Muhlenberg University. My goal tonight is to get you to look at your career search differently. So really, this is the ability for you to sort of think about how you really center your career search in a way that is different than you normally would, and sort of thinking a little bit more internally and a little less externally as we sort of go through this evening. So that's sort of a moment of what we're really looking for tonight. Part of this is really looking at yourself and thinking about what you sort of want. So, one of the things that I always sort of talk to students about is how do we determine our road? And as you can see, this is the long and winding road that makes up a life. And one of the things that I want to express to you is, what do we look for in our road? Like, what do we look for in our roadmap? For some people, I want to make the maximum amount of money. For other people, I want to be involved in public service. For others, it's I want to be able to support my family, but also be around them. For others, I want to be a senior leader. I want the ability to lead. Really determining what our roadmap is one of the key central things that I'm going to go over and really discuss tonight, because what we're really looking at here is how you define your road is really the starting point for your sort of job search and your career search as we move forward. I really think that's important, understanding what you want out of your overall life, and then developing a job search around that is really the way to have a really well-balanced sort of roadmap for what goes forward, and really to maybe not have such a large curve in the road, or really be able to sort of design what you want in your job search so that you can meet that goal in the end. Okay, so as we beginning to better understand ourselves, I want you, everyone, to take out a piece of paper, or if you have a phone in front of you, you can open a note and you can sort of think about some things that we enjoy. And I'm going to give everyone a couple of minutes to just sort of get this down, and I can talk while you sort of make a list. Okay, so common ways that we sort of understand a little bit about ourselves is to really list the things that we enjoy doing. Okay, so the first thing is, what do you enjoy studying at school? Now, for many of you, this may sound familiar to a webinar I gave back in the spring on how to select a major. It's not so dissimilar. So if you didn't have a chance to see that webinar, it's available on our YouTube playlist, so you can go over and check that out in your free time, and you can maybe stop here if you're watching on YouTube and then come back to this later. So let's think about what we like at school. Do we like courses that challenge our writing abilities? Do we like more analytical courses? Do we like courses where there's a lot of group work? Are we more of an individualist when it comes to that? All of that would sort of go into our school category. Are there topics that we enjoy more? Maybe I'm a business major, but I really like history. So when I take my electives, I take some history courses that are sort of outside of my field, and I actually really enjoy more of those than the finance. Or maybe I'm a political science major and I really like journalism. So I've been taking some journalism courses. I've been really studying there. Understanding what you enjoy at school will really help you sort of move forward. I'll give some personal anecdotes throughout tonight, but I want you to think about how that could best associate with how you move forward. Next, let's think about what you do outside of school, right? So like, what are your hobbies? Like, what are the things you enjoy doing? Like, I assume many people will list Netflix and some other, maybe some more mundane tasks, that they enjoy doing. But let's say there's something that you enjoy more, like you enjoy fine music, or you play an instrument, or you enjoy a sporting event, or maybe there's something different, like you like to produce art, or you like to draw. And there's something that can sort of, look at that. For undergraduate students who are in tourist studies, what do you enjoy about that? Are there principles and techniques that you're gaining from that that would potentially add to your list? Are there things that you enjoy? I also put volunteer work on here because I know the students here at YU spend a lot of time working on sort of volunteering in the community. What do you enjoy about that? What factors do you enjoy about that? What pieces are you interested in when it comes to volunteer work? All of those things, as you write out this list and you sort of take the time, and you don't need to do this while you're here on the webinar tonight or while watching us, but part of this is for you to sort of make a list of the things that you enjoy. Because as you'll see there, we can sort of develop pieces of our job search out of the things that we like, the things we enjoy. There's that old saying, if you love your job, you've never worked a day in your life. And that's a really interesting way to think about this, right? So, that's one key factor, that you have to really think about. Now, I don't know how true that adage is, but if we're going to believe it on some level, let's just think about, how we sort of fill the hours in our career with something that we find meaningful. Meaningfulness is really key when it comes to designing sort of a job search and sort of understanding where we get in our career. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is sort of what our personality is like. Okay, so how do we best operate? Okay, how do you best operate? One thing I've mentioned before, are you an individualist or do you like working in teams? Do you like to write all the time? Are you a person who makes lists in their daily life? Are you sort of a person who takes a task on immediately or lets it sit for weeks on end? All of these things are incredibly important when we're sort of building sort of what our career personality is like, because those jobs, certain careers and jobs are better for people with different types of personality. Are you a creative person? Are you a person who's mostly focused? Do you let things distract you during the day? These are all interesting qualities that we have to look at when we determine what our jobs are. I know in my own personal life, I happen to be a list maker. I happen to be very operationally focused a lot of the times. I try to be creative at times, but I know that sometimes I like working in a team, and for other projects I don't. So, I found a career where I can get a little bit of each. Understanding our own personality a little bit better is really going to help us sort of as we build upon our career sort of goals here. And I think that's important as we sort of set ourselves up for success, right? And I know many people will talk to you about taking a Myers-Briggs test, which is a personality exam. That's another good way. It's not a very large investment, but you can learn more about yourself when you take one of those tests. And it's really important for us to get a good sense of ourself. Okay, so I think those are two good ways to sort of start our journey. Forming an identity is a key metric for us, right? And I happen to love this little sort of image here, because it really looks at sort of everything that makes up a career. Why am I here? Why do I choose? What do I do? What are my values when it comes to this? Well, how does a job description fit those values? Where does my aptitude and knowledge come along? To give you all some background, some additional background on me, when I was in college, I really wanted to be a sports journalist, but I found that some of the things that meshed well with what I wanted to do as a sports journalist wasn't going to be a long-term fit for who I was. So, in addition to some market factors, I decided to go to law school. I got through law school, and at the end, I went into private practice. I was doing litigation work, and I decided after a few years that it just wasn't for me. I was more of a person who wanted to do projects and really work with people and hopefully have the opportunity to sort of meet others and advance things in certain ways. So what I did was I made a career change to education, and it really ended up fitting sort of where I was emotionally, where I was from a skills perspective. I had some transferable skills, and it really helped me form my identity. And now I'm here like almost 8 years later. And it's been an interesting and sort of career that I've become. And I have the ability to work on lovely team projects. My team that I work with includes advisors from the Career Center, Naomi Kapp, Sharon Mello-Reyes, Jim McQuarter, Daniel Coleman. I get to work with our executive director and the head of our employee relations team. But I also get to do some individual projects, some things that, that are just for me and that I don't need, support on. And that was really important for me. I teach classes. That's more of a singular sort of activity. So that's really why sort of forming an identity is a key meter for us. Once we have a good understanding of ourselves, we know which directions we then can focus our careers on. We can meet with a career advisor, you can speak with friends and family, and really find sort of what the sector is. So again, this lovely image allows us to sort of see that and do that, okay? Understanding yourself is a process, and it often takes quite a bit of time. Much longer than it would take for this stopwatch to go around several times, right? Longer than a day, longer than a week, sometimes months, sometimes years, for us to really come to the perspective of who we sort of are. And that's perfectly okay. That's one of the things that you get to explore over the course of your career. Maybe where you are at 18 or 20, 22 or 25 is different from where you're going to be a decade later or 5 or longer. The ability to sort of obtain the understanding of who you are as a person, okay, is incredibly important to your career because it will allow you to center your career search down the road. It's always interesting when we often use the word career versus the word job, right? So a job is something you have. It may be for life or it may be temporary. A career is the summation of everything that you do. And that's something I want to make sure that everyone understands here. This is sort of, while you get a job, you have a career. And I think that's really important for us to keep in mind as we really build upon sort of our professional profile, is that as our career evolves, we're evolving along with it, right? The two things go hand in hand. And I really think that's important as you sort of set yourself up for success. So maybe that you understood that maybe at the beginning of your career, I have loans or I have some fiscal responsibilities that I need to handle and that I need to go out and I need to make the most money as I can. But over time, maybe because of time constraints or maybe because you don't enjoy the work, or maybe from the very beginning, you want a more public focused career. You want a more volunteer-based career. You want a career where you get to give back to people. And as you sort of understand yourself a little bit more, you'll allow yourself to sort of grow in that space. And I think that is really a key metric as you sort of build that job search, right? So, like one of the things that you would expect from one of these conversations is, like how do I go about that? But this is more an ethereal sort of webinar here tonight. And sometimes I often will give more ethereal talks, more ethereal webinars like this, right? Where we're really looking deeply spiritually at ourselves, right? What do we know about who we are? How do we build sort of our own legs to stand on from a career perspective? And I think that's really, really important. As someone who teaches ethics, it's important that we have bases to stand on so that when we make decisions, we are able to analyze in a way that will actually make congruent sense. Okay, so whatever your career search begins now, we will know that it's going to evolve, and we also know that we're going to evolve as people. And as we do that, that understanding process is going to go and build, and you're going to get stronger. You'll get more confident in who your sense of self is, so that when you get ready for maybe the second job or the third job, or maybe you've gotten to a place where you're going to be at one company and you like it there, and maybe you just want to be able to change jobs within that career at that employer. You'll have a better sense of where you want to go and how you want to build that as you get to know yourself a little bit better. You know, one of the things that I often hear from students, especially here at YU, is I feel like time is moving too quickly. I have too many things. I'm unable to keep the balance, right? I'm unable to keep the Jenga pieces up, okay? And one of the things that I really do believe in is that careers are a balancing act. Whether you can balance it with whatever you'd like, right? I'm not going to tell you you have to balance it with just one thing. You will make the decision as what you balance it with. For some people, that will be family. For some people, that will be with volunteer work. With some people, that will be work in the public interest. For some people, that might be something like a great hobby. Maybe that you like to, your art is very important to you, as I mentioned earlier. Or there's something else that you have a part-time job that you really enjoy doing, and you've got to balance your career with that. Or, there are dozens of potential options, okay? But careers really are a balanced activity. Just working all the time does not get us to where we need to be. It doesn't allow us to enjoy. It doesn't allow us to find sort of the balance that makes us our lives whole. And I think that's really important as we sort of develop our career. Finding the ability to sort of sit back and say, well, if I take this job and I work 80 hours a week, well, all the balance from my life is going to be removed because I'm not going to be able to do X, Y, Z that brings me an immense amount of happiness. One of the great concepts that I talk about in my classes is trying to maximize your own happiness and the happiness of others. Okay. If you're miserable in your career and or your job, you won't be able to find that balance. And I think that's really important. And that's something we often forget about in our job search, right? Because when we talk about sort of our job search, we talk about the traditional factors. Well, I need a resume. Well, I need a cover letter. Well, I need references, and I need to keep networking and improve my interviewing skills. But we never talk about what's actually going on with us. Okay? As someone who came to Yeshiva University just over a year ago, I understood that during the process, I needed to remain in balance. And I needed to look at the factors that just weren't on the page, like what the salary was, or what the position title was, or where the office was located, or a whole bunch of other factors that you traditionally look at when you take a look at a job. It's more important to also look at ourselves and see where we are in our lives, see where you want to find that balance, and being able to build upon that is really, really important as we sort of establish where we're going in our career. So in the best way to keep those Jenga pieces airborne, right? To keep them from falling over, we have to be aware of sort of where we want to find that balance and how we're going to do that. For many of you, that may be jobs that allow you to sort of be involved in more of your Jewish life. And I completely understand you're wanting to do that. It's what you've grown up in, it's what you've studied also in college, and it's a very important piece of what you do. So make sure that when you pick that job and you go towards that career, we're actually building upon that factor. And we're actually taking into account the balance of life. Analyzing oneself begins with that list of goals. Okay, so I'm coming back to our list concept that we previously talked about. for us to be able to climb the ladder, okay, we need to be able to find what our goals are, right? And one of the things that I often talk to students about is making a list of professional and personal goals, putting them on the page so you can see where there's potential for connection. Okay, one of the things that I find really important about sort of setting these lists of goals is that you will find places where there's some overlap. It may often look like a Venn diagram. And if one doesn't know what a Venn diagram, it's those bubbles that often overlap, right? It's circles where there's area in between. What I find important about listing those goals is we find places that are important to us, right? And that we are able to figure out how and devise a plan, okay? If we're going back to our roadmap, we're going to devise a plan. Well, I want to get to personal goal and I want to get to professional goal, and we work and we weave, okay, a way to get to that place. And I think that's an important piece of that we often forget, that our professional and our personal goals will often mesh at times. And as they continue to mesh, right, because sometimes your personal life will network with your professional, and sometimes your professional life will affect your personal life. So as we sort of build that list of goals, we're really looking at it from a holistic picture. Weighing our goals, as I said in the previous list, is a key driver and metric, right? We must weigh things that are important to us, okay? So for many of you, that might be family. For many of you, that might be, dollars and cents on the page. For some of you, it might be the ability, to be part of an outside organization. Like let's say you really enjoy public speaking and you want to be a member of Toastmasters. Okay, these are places where we can really find space to really make sure that we're setting up our career in a way where we're actually building sort of it in the way that will make us the happiest, right? And we need to weigh those goals, and the weighing of those goals is perfectly fine, okay? You being able to make decisions as to where you want to go, what you want to have from your life is really, really quite important, and is something that I find will really help you sort of in your career search. Planning. Making a plan. Now, I put up these lovely colored post-it notes that all have usually reference different parts of our life. Maybe one represents our skills, one represents our personal goals, one represents our professional goals. Each color is worth something different. We have to build some semblance of a plan, okay? And while that plan is going to change, planning is important because it will allow us to see potential flaws in our thinking, okay? But it will also allow us to have ways to sort of go forward and pivot when the plan doesn't go perfectly, okay? Even if you're not a planner, even if you're the person who would never sit down and you would never get to a place where we could actually have the ability to sort of sit and make out a fully scaled life goal plan or a career plan, it's important to do that, because once we have that down, it'll be a roadmap that we can continue to come back to. And when something, and I hope it doesn't, but generally in life, something will change, okay? That is unfortunately one of the interesting things about life, is just when you think you know of everything that's going to happen, in an instant, something changes. We all are going through a time of immense change in our lives right now, and we have been for several months. No one could have expected this. And as we weave that plan, right, it's important for us to really sit there and think about, well, I know I can do X, well, maybe that can lead to Y, which then puts me back on the plan that I originally started with. So even if you're not the kind of person who would make a roadmap, who would make a list, who would put post-it notes on a board, who would maybe write it out, or maybe you're more creative and maybe you have a window in your apartment, and then you take some colored markers, right? The ones that are erasable, and you draw it out on your window. And that plan sits there, and you draw on it a little bit every day. In my old office, I had a glass door. And on that glass door, every day I wrote something on it as part of sort of a learning experience of, well, this went well today and this didn't. And here are my goals for the week, and here's what we got done. And it wasn't just available for me to see. but it was available for everyone else to see as well, and for people to comment, and for people to come and ask questions. And now I know we're all living in a virtual world, but even that, maybe you have a roommate, or you're living with family, or there's someone in your life that is important to you that's with you all the time. Having a vision for what that plan is really quite important. I thought this image was great because this image really showed the flexibility of sort of life. Oftentimes our dream career can take time. We are planning to build mindful and flexible skills. So careers that we have not thought of, that don't exist, or we haven't discovered as of yet, are available to us down the road. As we sort of grow our skill set, it's important for us to really think about, where do our skills fit? As someone who is a bona fide career changer, I had to realize where I had project management skills that were flexible, where I had operational skills that were flexible. Was I a good public speaker? Could I do that in another forum? These were all important to me as I sort of developed my flexible skills. A career often is the amalgamation of those flexible skills can be used in new areas. One of the things I find really interesting is, as you look at career lists from 30, 20, and 10 years ago, and how many jobs have either pivoted completely, don't exist, or are on their way out. Your dream career, your dream job, what you want to do may not exist at this exact moment. Okay? At the rate of how we move technology and the rate of which sort of information travels and how we build our world, we don't know what's going to be available to you in terms of your career, maybe even 5 or 10 years down the road. So things that we haven't discovered yet, that we're not ready to move into, this is why we build those flexible skills, so that when the opportunity is presented to us, we know how to move into it. Okay? In a digital world that we're living in, I think this has become even more important. Okay? Our level of flexibility in the way to think, in the way to actually position ourselves, the way to do our work is part of sort of what we do. Next, it's always important to be in the right place at the right time. I'm a person who has missed many a bus, many a train before. I got there 1 minute too early. I got there 1 minute too late. And because of that, I wasn't able, to make that train, and I might have missed something good or missed something bad. But being there, part of setting yourself up for a great career is actually being in places, doing the pre-work to make sure that when the opportunity arises, you're there to catch that train. Okay, and I know that may seem like a little bit of plurality and also maybe a little bit cliche, but it really is true. The ability to meet people, the ability to find jobs, because most jobs go from a person applies, or maybe they know someone, and that grows from there. And that's really, really important as we sort of establish our career. All the preparation in the world, even if you've selected the perfect career, things may change in your life. It happens. And from time to time, you have to stay true to what your principles are. Okay? So maybe the job that you had doesn't exist in 5 years and it was your dream career. Well, you're still going to have to find a career. You still may want to work. You still may want a job. And because of that, we have to build the ability for us to make a flexible workplace, for us to really think about where we are and how we sort of grow that situation and how we really build upon that. And that's one thing that I want you to keep in mind as you go out into the workforce, or if you're in the workforce already. How do I have a plan just in case things change on me, or just in case my business unit doesn't exist anymore, or my employer isn't here, or I want a new employer? All of those things, if you look back at some of the things we've discussed today, if you stay true to your principles, you will get there. That will be available to you. So tonight's slides will be available and you'll be able to watch later on YouTube, as I mentioned. Also, if you would like to download YUCL, you can click on the QR code here or visit sort of our website. We have open office hours as well. I would love to take a couple of questions from the chat so that we can have some discourse on everything that we've talked about today. I know that I threw a lot out there, to you. Gave you a lot of personal homework. So it's an important piece of what we're really working on today is to really sit and think about this at a deeper level, to take that extra moment to maybe, I don't know, go find a quiet place outside and really think about who you are and what you want your career to be. Please staying at a socially distanced acceptable rate and maybe wearing a mask. So, these are all important pieces of sort of what we're looking at. So I would love to take some questions in the chat. Please type them in. And I'm going to stop my share now so we can all converse and you can see my face without the slides. But this is the time for question and answers. So one question that came in that I'm happy to take is, what do I do if I am going down one path already? And now, because I'm going down that path, I want to make a change and I want to think about my career a little differently. What are some steps that I can do to really make that happen? And I think one of the first things is that outlining stage, right? What are the things that I actually enjoy? Can I do some more research on jobs that potentially fit the criteria that I'm looking for? Now, if you can't do that on your own, make an appointment with one of us in the Career Center. We call them career exploration appointments, and we'll help you identify where your skills and interests lie with potential careers for you. One of the things I found really interesting is, this is a career that has existed for decades, but a lot of people aren't sure how to get into it, is video game design. And because it's a career where there's no set plan, it's all about skills development and learning how my skills will fit in with sort of artistry or storyboarding or game design. It's a really interesting sort of career. So I really do sort of appreciate that question. Okay, don't have any more questions as of now. I hope everyone takes this time that we've had tonight and uses it to really outline a plan for their career, to really think about who they are and really develop from here. I think this is an important sort of piece of the career journey that we don't often talk about. We often don't talk about the interpersonal side and who we are as people and how we develop sort of our careers from there. So not your traditional sort of career center sort of webinar, but I think a good one. I hope all of you are safe and well, and I look forward to seeing you at our webinars. Our webinars are almost every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. They're available if you go to the YU events calendar or see our Canvas page where all the webinar information is laid out. Again, our slides are available on Canvas, and I look forward, if you're watching this on YouTube, to talking to you very soon. And I thank you. Again, my name is Joshua Meredith. I'm the Director of Career Advising. I hope you all have a good night, and good luck. Thank you.